Welcome back to the Business Simple podcast. It's been a while. It's good to be back sitting in our studio. I haven't been in front of a microphone. Well, I have once, but probably not in the last, give or take 4 months. And that is what I'm going to talk about today. So what I wanted to do is, I think I, like every other real life human, am imperfect at times. And looking back in hindsight, I probably should not have stopped producing the podcast the way that I did. But we here at Digital Simple run a real business that has real clients and real staff. And with that, it has real problems at different points in time. And we've gone through a little bit of a period, which I'm going to touch on probably in future episodes coming up. I will dive a little bit more deeply into some of the specifics, I would say, obviously within a realm that is reasonable, but I'll go a little bit more depth into some stuff. But what I wanted to do with today's episode, just as it's sort of the first one in a little while, is just announce that we're back. I don't know what our posting rhythm is going to look like. I don't know whether there'll be lots more of these. I don't know if there'll be lots more guest episodes. I'm not 100% sure. We're lining up guests. We've got one banked, so we'll see where we wind up. I'll start by kind of going over my 2025. So where essentially we got to is, I think our podcast was heading on actually what was a really cool trajectory. We'd tried a lot of things. We're at, give or take, 80 episodes, I'd say now. And through that, we'd had a cadence of posting pretty much every day. We've been doing 1 or 2 episodes a week. We tried a bunch of different stuff. We'd landed some really awesome guests. We'd had some really cool listenership off our podcast. It was actually at a point where I was getting stopped in random stores, like one day a baby bunting by real cool people that I was able to have engaging conversations with, and we're really noticing people that were following along and we're seeing what we're doing. And so the decision to withdraw time from this type of content was a really tough one for me. But I have a responsibility here as the sole director of this company, and the person who I wouldn't even necessarily say steers the ship, but is the one who's responsible for making sure that we keep the lights on here and everyone gets paid when they're supposed to and all that sort of thing. I have a real responsibility to prioritize business health over everything else. And so throughout the start of this year, we definitely had some problems. Our team grew to being the biggest it ever has been. So we got up to 24 people at our largest point. And through that really fast growth, what tends to happen when you're growing is the good things that you're doing grow usually, but so do the problems that you've got. And sometimes the problems that you've got actually grow faster, I've found, than the positives, to a point where they outweigh them. So through January, February, March this year, we had really slow sales. We took on some additional overheads in terms of, we had a full-time person in here cold calling all the time. He was doing a really good job and setting up lots of meetings, but they weren't converting for whatever reason that might be. That may be another episode further down the track. We had quite an expensive senior leadership team that at one point in time had 4 people in it. And that team would have cost, give or take, $450,000 a year to have within the business. And I had sort of stepped out a little bit of the day-by-day operations and I was sort of overseeing, but I was also really tied up with, I had, a 6, 7, 8-month-old baby through that period of time. That for the people listening that have children will probably be laughing along, was a little bit of a bigger challenge than I'd maybe anticipated it being. And being a good dad and a good partner and helping to, manage all of that was something that I was learning through kind of a bit of a crash course at the time. And in addition to that, we had quite high client churn. So as we were growing really quickly, I think we were losing a lot of what we were really good at in the pace that we were running. So this business was built off optimizing ad accounts every week. It was built off like aggressive forwards action was kind of our point of difference in the market, and having lots of ads, people doing heaps of good work, really smooth strategies. We had really capable people, but our ads or our delivery team to client ratio probably got a little bit out of whack. As we got busy, we hired more and more roles. I wasn't super involved with what roles we were hiring at that point in time, and we're putting a lot of administration roles and things like that in, which is awesome, and admin's super important. But if you're not hiring enough delivery people, the quality of your product will inevitably decline as a result of that. And that's what we saw happen. For sure. We had some changes from a sales perspective tail end of last year, and selling digital products is something that, selling digital advertising, is something that I probably underestimate the difficulty of, because I've been doing it for 7 years and God knows how many transactions I've done, and I find it not easy, but I have habits that make it work for me. And coming in without the perfect training system. We've had a lot of BDMs come in and try to sell what we sell, and they find it considerably more difficult than, say, I do. And so we sort of created this like perfect storm where tail end of last year, we were a business doing give or take 350 grand a month. Our smallest month this year, we did 230. And so obviously that's quite a big shift. Now, that was only 1 month, and the months surrounding that 230 were considerably higher. But at this point in time, we're probably sitting just kind of shy of 300-ish a month. So we had bigger staff, higher client churn, lower sales, and we sort of just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're like, oh, things aren't that good. At that point in time, it was pretty high pressure in here, and I think that I played a pretty key role in not facilitating the type of environment that was perfect to recover from that super quickly. The call I basically made was, I'm dropping everything except for going and finding new work, because new work fixes a few of the problems that we've got right now. So I went and I drummed up some pretty serious business. That was kind of what pulled us from that 220 back up, even running against the churn. I signed about $70,000 worth of recurring work in about 6 weeks. And that bought us some time, which was cool. Then as soon as I created that time for us, I then had to go into a mode of being like, right, what is broken here? And if you haven't ever tried to write a business, what it kind of feels like is, the game whac-a-mole, where sort of something pops up and you hit it, which is great. Imagine that's a problem in a company. You solve this problem, which is cool, and each problem to solve might be 2 weeks, it might be 4 weeks, it might be a day, it might be one conversation. But as soon as you hit that problem, another one pops up. And then you hit that, and then another one pops up, and then boom. And so over the last probably 4 months, that's pretty much what my role has been like. Due to the pressure, environment, culture, all of those things, which was always something that as a business we were extremely strong at cultivating a positive version of. We've always had an epic culture. We've had great people. We've had all those sorts of things. But I think we had a bit of a hangover come through from 2024, and all that kind of came to a head. We had a number of staff leave. It became quite obvious, I think, to the wider market that there was some blood in the water and that I had really good people. So we had a number of staff poached. And I then sort of wound up in a little bit of a spot where we didn't really have anyone to do the kind of work that we needed. Like the ones that we sort of didn't want to leave were often the ones that left. And there was a little bit of stuff going on that was pretty challenging for us. So as we've gone through and solved these problems, and I kind of started with sales, and then the second thing I fixed was really focusing on culture and bringing some real clean, positive energy in here. And the rewards that we're seeing from that, I don't think Digital Simple's ever had a culture as good as it is today, which is epic, because I love being in this place. And to be in a position where I was turning up to work and I didn't like being here was something that was quite confronting for me. I've always worked hard, and I've always logged big hours and had really high output, but I've always done it in an environment where I've loved to do it. Whereas doing it in an environment where it hurts is a very different feeling. And I know that probably a lot of the people that run businesses here listening to this know that. They know that feeling of the, turning up to work and it's sort of taking your soul a little bit every day. And so I just consciously made a decision where I was like, I'm not going to allow this place to continue to be like that. I had a couple of real conversations with people that I trust dearly, and they were all like, you're better than that. And we started really turning that culture. Through this process, we wound up losing a couple of the members of that senior leadership team for various reasons. We took that as a little bit of an opportunity to shake things up a bit. So I sat down and I envisioned how I wanted this business to run and what people I wanted where, and where it was good to have lots of time and where it was not good to have lots of time. And, I looked at, our wages was up around probably 80 grand a fortnight at the peak. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money coming out. Whereas in sort of 2 or 3 weeks from now, it'll probably be down around sort of mid 50s, I would say. So that's been a really big adjustment for us. And as some people have left by themselves, as we've made some really tough decisions and changed some processes that have meant some roles haven't existed here anymore, we've been able to either save money or take salaries that were going somewhere else and reinvest them into the areas that we think are most important. So for us, what that has looked like has been a higher rate of delivery people within the team. Delivery is what I define as dollar producing roles. So if someone signs on for a marketing retainer with us, the person who runs those ads, that's a dollar producing role. The person who says hi to them when they walk in the business, or the person who manages the account or whatever, it's not necessarily so dollar productive, because people don't sign on to us for account management. They sign on to us for performance marketing or for videos or for content or for a website or whatever it is. So we've kind of shuffled that a little bit. The team's still not small. The team is definitely still not small. We today probably have 21 people here, maybe 20. And as one person's going to Europe, one's going on maternity leave, and one's just been offered a phenomenal opportunity, and we're really happy for them, we'll get a little bit smaller and we'll just figure out what we do once we know what the lay of the land is like there. But none of those people are exiting those dollar producing roles. So it means that as we get smaller, we aren't necessarily weakening our quality of product, which is a really exciting position to be in. We also have, I think, delivery roles that are considerably more scalable now, because we know realistically what one ads person can manage to a really high caliber. We've bought someone who started with us at the start of the year, Maddie, and left for a little bit during that cultural expedition, I'll say, that we were on. She's returned, which is really exciting for us, and the impact of having her back in here in our digital marketing lead role is fantastic. She is a systems, processes, follow-up, run the team. She's all the things that I'm not as a leader in the business. I'm best at just sprinting in and throwing a whole bunch of energy at something and fixing the problems and then sprinting off to the next thing. She's the structured, the stable, what we kind of what I think we were kind of missing here previously. So we're now at a point, and this has been a really good opportunity for us, where we had a point where we had a lot of new people come through the team. 4 this year out of our 5 in the ads team. All 3 of our content people have started with us this year. 1 new videographer. We've had this sort of fresh start. And Maddie also joined us for the first time in January, and then came back again sort of 6 weeks ago. So we've had this fresh start. And something that I really wanted to talk about during this is a lesson I've learned is I've had some of my best people leave this year. And that's really terrifying at the time when you receive that resignation letter or whatever it is from someone that's worked with you for a long time or that is really good or whatever. It often feels like, how will this business run without this person? But if you can create the right systems, if you can hire new people, bring new energy, they're going to take to those systems easier than someone that's been here for a long time beforehand, because they know a version of the business that didn't have those systems. And there's every chance where if your systems are like, hey, now every week you need to optimize every campaign, and before that wasn't tracked, an existing staff member is not going to like that, because they felt like they had the freedom before to do sort of what they wanted. It's not that you're taking the freedom away from them, you're just putting some accountability in place. And so as these new people have rolled through, that's all they know, or they didn't really know in other ways super well. And so now our output as an ads team is super high. We do have 5 people sitting in there, which is a big ads team for us, but with our kind of ratio of sort of 10 to 15 clients per ads person, that appears to be working really well. That has been all led and delivered and then followed up in a way, having Maddie here, where I've been able to come up with the ideas, explain how I want it to look, and then it's just happened, which has been incredible too. So I think, I know I'm waffling a little bit here, but I think a thing to really think about that I've learned this year is that people don't quit hard. People don't quit necessarily for hard times. People don't quit because workload is high or different things like that. People quit a bad culture every time. And if your culture is negative, or if it's sort of having a negative impact on someone and they get shoulder tapped or something like that, it's going to be really hard to retain that person. Even if they love you as a leader, even if they believe in your business and product, even if they're happy with their workload, they will still go. And so I think as the owner of a business, you really need to prioritize that culture and making sure that people really buy into you and your vision and where you want to take things. But also, if that good person leaves, you need to somehow keep yourself in the mindset where you're like, this is an opportunity, not a problem. It's terrifying. It's hard to do. But some of the people that we've hired this year are incredible and like as good as anyone. And they've been able to come in and take to these systems and absolutely thrive within them. And so viewing those bad times, the client churn, yeah, it sucks. You don't have as much revenue coming in, but it's considerably easier to remap out systems and all those sorts of things when you're in an opportunity like that than it is when you're humming full tilt and you don't have enough time in the day to get through stuff. Sometimes you've got to, just even when confidence is low, you're not certain about what the next steps are, you've got to push anyway. The other thing, and this in hindsight is something that I sort of touched on at the start of this episode, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with. The other thing is that you probably shouldn't go as quiet as I went. I went from super high posting and really high volume of content and trying to make all this really cool stuff happen to going essentially dormant, and so did Digital Simple, because we all just went into like firefighter mode and we're just trying to deliver the best product and figure out these systems and onboard these new people and do all that sort of stuff. But carving out time to just continue to produce content and keep people up to date is always such a valuable thing to do. And just like, don't, somehow as the leader of the business, people will look to you. And so if no matter what's going on, you're positive and you're talking forwards and you're like, it's okay, we're going to beat this, they will know that. And even if you don't say it, if you think, oh, this is a little bit too much, this is pretty hard, I'm not really enjoying this, people will be able to smell that on you. And so as the leader of the business, you've got to really box on with that. I think we hit what I would define as a perfect storm this year. I don't think I've had, I definitely haven't had the HR challenges that I've had. Yeah, I won't go into specifics, but I don't think I've ever even heard probably of the volume of HR challenges that someone I know has experienced in such a short period of time. I don't think the staff churn has been a really daunting thing at times. The client churn has been a really daunting thing at times. But we're now in the final day of August and we've had the lowest client churn in a month that I have had probably since 2022, I would say. And that's coming off the back of another month of extremely low client churn. So the time that we've been able to invest in our product through this has made our business considerably better than it was prior. And we have a huge influx of leads at the moment. And so I'm going to get to onboard some really cool businesses over the next little bit and put them into this new system where if we hadn't been through this, we may have got the same leads. We may have got more. Who knows? But we would have still been battling that client churn thing. Our hand would have never really been forced. And my own prioritization of the culture and the hiring people to fit that culture and help that get better, that's a whole nother tier from where it's ever been before. I always liked the culture, but it was kind of a given. It just happened with us. Whereas now we've got a culture that is the same level of fun, but it's just grown up and matured in a way where it's not, we get shit done. It's we tick our boxes every week. We have a great time. We have, whether it's a 0% like this or a non-0%, we have a drink every Friday at 4 p.m. and we talk about our wins, and we do all these things that are starting to really form this business where if you're in here at the moment, it's just electric, and there's just this feel. We handle problems, the team is stepping up, everything's just growing in this way that's really cool to be a part of. So that's kind of probably my recap of the last 6 months. I don't know why I've kind of shot an episode to explain to you all where I've been for the last 3 or 4, but I suppose probably some context is important, because we did go from producing a lot to not producing very much content in a short period of time, and I don't think that was the right thing to do, but it's what happened, and now we're back. And the business is back, and we're moving in the direction we want to be moving in, and we've got really cool stuff happening. So we're just going to keep boxing on, and hopefully as a result of that, you're going to hear a whole bunch more of me and some other people that I'll bring on here and we'll talk to, and it'll be it'll be a really cool finish between now and Christmas. So that's a little bit of an update. I put a couple of notes down here, but I kind of just winged that. So hopefully it came across all right for you. And if you've listened this far, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you stay tuned. Our kind of plan is to be doing, a couple, 2 or 3 episodes a week moving forward. So hopefully I'll be able to release some real cool content for you over the next little bit. I will see you on the next one. Thanks for listening again.